My wife thought I'd never find out, until her boss kissed her in front of a hotel. "It's just work," she said. So I waited. I watched. And I exposed everything at the company gala, in front of her CEO, her coworkers, and her husband. She lost her job. He lost his family. If you asked my wife, she'd probably say I ruined her life in one night. What she won't tell you is why I did it. She won't tell you about the late-night texts, or the lies, or how I sat there for weeks pretending not to know she was sleeping with her boss. Yeah, her boss. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even confront her when I found out. I smiled, nodded, kissed her goodnight, and then I started planning the most polite, professional, and soul-crushing revenge I could come up with. Let me tell you how it started. Lisa and I had been married for 4 years, together for 7. We weren't flashy. We weren't power couple material or anything like that, but we were steady. We had routines. Inside jokes. She knew exactly how I liked my coffee. I knew when she needed space. I loved her in that quiet, everyday kind of way people stop writing songs about. She worked in HR for a marketing firm downtown. I'm a software engineer. I work from home, which meant I was always the one who made dinner, ran errands, handled the boring stuff. I didn't mind. I liked supporting her. I thought we were on the same team. But somewhere in the last 6 months, something shifted. She started coming home later. Said work was getting intense. New hires, company retreats, after-hours meetings. Okay, fine. I believed her. It made sense. Her job always had some new crisis. But then came the extra makeup. The perfume I'd never smelled before. A new blouse I didn't remember buying. Still, I brushed it off. People evolve, right? Then came the phone. It never left her side. Even in the bathroom. Always face down. She started smiling at it a little too much. Laughing at texts she wouldn't explain. I asked once, casually, who she was chatting with. "Oh, just people from work." Mark's group chat is insane. Mark. Her boss. Married guy. I'd met him once at a holiday party. The kind of guy who gave side hugs and made way too much eye contact with women when he talked. Something about him had rubbed me the wrong way, but I let it go. I trusted Lisa. Or at least, I used to. Everything snapped one random Tuesday night. She'd just come home from working late. I was brushing my teeth, and she left her phone on the counter to grab her towel from the laundry. Just for a second. The screen lit up. "Mark, work. Last night was amazing. Can't wait to feel you again." My heart didn't even race. It just stopped. Time froze. I stared at that message like it was a glitch in the simulation. I didn't unlock her phone. Didn't say a word when she came back into the bathroom. She kissed me on the cheek like everything was fine. That night, I laid in bed beside her and stared at the ceiling until morning. She had no idea that from that moment on, I was done being her husband. I was going to be her reckoning, and I wasn't going to raise my voice once. After that text, I didn't sleep for 3 days. I physically laid in bed next to her. I closed my eyes. I did all the stuff you're supposed to do to calm down. Deep breaths, music, even stupid meditation apps. But my brain wouldn't shut off. Because once that seed is planted, everything starts to look different. And let me be clear, I didn't want to believe it at first. I really didn't. I wanted to tell myself it was a joke, or some kind of misunderstanding. Maybe they were just flirting. Maybe it never crossed the line. But that little voice in my head, the one that used to warn me when I was being naive, it was screaming this time. "Wake up. She's cheating. You saw it with your own eyes." So I did something I never thought I'd do in my life. I started collecting evidence. And I mean real evidence. Not gut feelings or vague suspicions, facts. Stuff I could hold in my hand when everything hit the fan. If this was going to blow up, I wasn't going to be the angry ex. I was going to be the guy with receipts. First move, her team-building retreat. She told me it was happening the following Friday. Overnight. Out of town. A night at a rural spa resort, she said, like it was no big deal. I asked if I could come, jokingly, and she laughed and said, "Babe, it's for staff only. You'd be bored to death anyway." Sure. I waited until she went to bed that night and pulled up our shared calendar on the home computer. The one she forgot was synced to her phone. Found the event she'd added herself. Leadership Growth Retreat. Company confidential. It even had the location listed. So I Googled the place. Looked nice. Way too nice for a work thing. Spa, wine bar, couples massages. No conference rooms. No business center. Not even a seminar space. Just hot tubs and champagne. I called the resort the next morning while she was in the shower and asked, pretending to be part of the event, "Hey, do you have a list of companies booking that weekend?" Just confirming our reservation. They told me, "No company bookings that weekend, just private guests." Cool. Next step, I borrowed a GPS tracker from my friend Dave. He's a gearhead, big into off-grid camping and security stuff. I told him I wanted to test it out on my car. He didn't ask questions. Gave me this tiny little tracker that synced to my phone. Sticky back, no lights, real-time map. I waited until Thursday night, then snuck out while Lisa was watching TV and stuck it under her back bumper. By Friday afternoon, I was watching the little blue dot glide across the highway. Guess where it stopped? Not at any corporate retreat. Not at any business hotel. It stopped at the exact resort I'd looked up earlier. Checked in at 5:13 p.m. Stayed there overnight. Never moved. But the real punch came the next morning. I drove up there. Yeah, I know. I told myself I wouldn't, but I had to see it with my own eyes. I parked across the street in a grocery lot, waited with sunglasses and a baseball cap like some low-budget private investigator. I felt stupid, angry, sick, but I waited. At 10:42 a.m., she walked out of the resort lobby with Mark. I'll never forget it. She was wearing this white blouse I'd never seen before. He had his hand on the small of her back. They looked close. Too close. She leaned in, said something, laughed, and then they kissed. Quick, casual, like it was normal, like it wasn't a complete betrayal of everything we'd built together. I didn't take a photo. I didn't need to. That image is burned into my brain like a scar. I drove home numb. That night, she came home around 6 p.m., said she was exhausted from the workshops. Asked what I did all day. I said, not much. Just cleaned a bit. Played some games. She smiled, kissed me, said she missed me. I smiled back, told her I was glad she had fun. And in that moment, I made a choice. I wasn't going to confront her. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to burn it all down with a smile on my face. Here's the thing no one tells you when you find out your partner's cheating. You want to do something immediately. You want to scream, slam doors, blow it all up. You want to say, I know everything, and watch them squirm. But if you're smart, you wait. Because the longer they think they've fooled you, the more rope they give themselves. And Lisa? She handed me the whole damn spool. After I saw her and Mark together at the resort, I spent the weekend quietly spiraling. Not the crying, dramatic kind of spiral. I'm talking cold, internal numbness. I didn't sleep, barely ate, just sat on the couch with this one thought cycling in my head. How do I do this without losing everything? Because here's the reality. Divorce is brutal, especially when there's money, property, and careers involved. And even more so when the cheater is someone who works in human resources, who knows every trick in the book to spin the narrative and weaponize the system. So I made 2 calls on Monday morning. My boss, to take a couple days off. A lawyer, to learn exactly what my options were. Let's talk about the lawyer first. I booked a consultation with a no-nonsense divorce attorney downtown. Middle-aged woman. Direct. Wore no jewelry. Didn't smile once. I liked her immediately. I sat down and said, my wife is cheating on me with her boss. I have evidence. I don't want drama. I want a clean exit where I don't get screwed. She nodded once and said, show me what you have. I pulled out a folder, physical and digital. Screenshots of the text, a photo of her calendar event, the GPS tracker logs, the resort call transcript, and a full timeline I'd built with dates, times, and everything I'd observed. She raised an eyebrow and said, you're more prepared than most private investigators. Then she said something that flipped a switch in my head. You realize this is a gold mine, right? Especially if there's a company policy about workplace relationships. If she's screwing her boss, and she works in HR, you have leverage. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't just personal betrayal. This was professional suicide, for both of them. Lisa's company had a code of conduct. I'd read it months ago when she was updating her resume. There was a specific clause about relationships with direct supervisors being prohibited unless disclosed and approved by HR leadership. It was there to protect the company from favoritism lawsuits. Lisa was HR leadership. Mark was her boss, and they were hiding the whole thing. I asked my lawyer if I could expose this without crossing any legal lines. She said yes, if the evidence was mine, legally obtained, and I wasn't threatening or blackmailing anyone, just presenting facts. Hypothetically, I asked, what if I shared this at their company event? She paused, then gave the tiniest smirk and said, "Just make sure you're not the one who hits play." The second call I made that day was to someone I hadn't talked to in months, Lisa's coworker, Karen. Now, here's the deal with Karen. She and Lisa used to be close. Brunch every other Sunday kind of close. But about a year ago, they had a falling out over some drama with another employee. Lisa always blamed Karen for being jealous of her promotion. So when I called Karen and said, "Hey, I need your help with something," off the record, she listened. I didn't tell her everything. Just enough. Enough for her to start asking questions. And then she dropped the real gift. The company gala's in 2 weeks. Mark is giving a speech. Lisa's coordinating it. I said, "Thanks. That's all I needed." What she didn't know was that I was already working on something behind the scenes. A PowerPoint. Yup. A literal, honest-to-God PowerPoint presentation. The presentation was designed to look like a regular corporate compliance report, clean, formal, and boring enough to fly under the radar at first glance. But what it actually was a quiet grenade. It started with a professional-looking title about workplace ethics. Then came a timeline, just simple bullet points walking through a few key dates and incidents. Nothing dramatic, just enough to start building a pattern. After that, things escalated. There were screenshots, text messages, calendar entries, a map showing exact GPS locations, proving she wasn't where she said she was. Even a screenshot from the resort's website next to her reservation info, complete with the date and her name. And then, the knockout punch, a direct quote from the company's own employee conduct policy. It spelled out exactly why what they were doing wasn't just unethical. It was a direct violation of the rules. The final touch? A quiet note at the end saying it was submitted anonymously in the interest of company integrity. It wasn't loud. It wasn't emotional. It was surgical. Just facts, lined up like dominoes. And all I had to do was tip the first one. But if that PowerPoint ended up on the right flash drive, slipped into the right folder, and handed to the right person before the gala, well, that's just me being helpful, isn't it? I hadn't been to one of Lisa's company events in over 2 years. She always said they were just networking and awkward small talk. I never pushed. But this year, she invited me. Funny, right? I guess she thought everything was fine, like I'd swallowed the team-building retreat, lie and moved on. And that was perfect. I needed her to think everything was normal. So I smiled. Said, "Of course I'll come." 2 weeks later, we showed up at a fancy hotel ballroom. String lights, cocktail bar, jazz band in the corner. It looked like the kind of place where people shook hands over cheap wine and faked compliments for promotions. Lisa looked, well, like someone who thought she was untouchable. Black dress, curled hair, fake work laugh cranked to 100. She introduced me to a few coworkers like nothing was wrong. "This is my husband, Jake." All bubbly. Mark was there too. I hadn't seen him since the holiday party the year before. He looked the same. Tall, smug, professionally forgettable. His wife was with him. Petite, classy, looked a little uncomfortable. I don't think she liked events like this. Lisa and Mark barely looked at each other the whole night. Not in a way that screamed avoidance. More like they were trying way too hard to look not suspicious. It was almost funny. I just sat back, watching, sipping my drink, letting the night unfold. Then came the moment. About an hour in, after the awards and speeches, one of the senior VPs stepped up to the mic and said something like, "Before we wrap up, we've received a special submission from an anonymous employee, something they thought was worth sharing, about ethics and transparency in the workplace." You could feel the room shift. People turned toward the projector screen. Wine glasses paused midair. Nobody knew what was coming. Not even me. I didn't know for sure if it had made it in. I'd slipped the flash drive into a pile of labeled folders on the gala coordinator's table earlier that day, in the middle of the usual chaos. That's it. That's all I did. But apparently, that was enough. The lights dimmed. The presentation started. It opened with a clean title slide. Workplace Integrity, a Case Study. No names. No drama. Just professional. The second slide? A simple timeline. Friday, overnight work retreat scheduled. Saturday, location check-in confirmed. Monday, employee returns, logs, training hours on time card. Still, nothing too direct. People were just watching quietly. Then it hit. The next slide showed a calendar screenshot with Lisa's name on the event. Next to it, GPS logs placing her at a boutique resort. Next slide. a photo of a reservation confirmation with her email attached, then screenshots. Messages between her and Mark. Flirty, suggestive, undeniably personal. Timestamps match the weekend in question. All shown cleanly, without comment. Just presented. And finally, a direct quote from the company's ethics policy. The one about relationships between direct reports and supervisors, and how they must be disclosed to senior HR leadership. The implication couldn't be clearer. Lisa, Mark, affair, policy breach, evidence. The silence in that room was deafening. I didn't look at Lisa. I didn't need to. I could feel her panic like heat coming off a stove. Mark's wife stood up and walked out, heels clacking hard across the floor. Someone in the back let out a low whistle. A few phones came out quietly, probably snapping photos of the screen. And then, just like that, the lights came back up. The VP returned to the mic, cleared his throat, and said something weak like, "Thank you to whoever submitted that thought-provoking material. We'll, follow up internally." You could tell he hadn't seen it beforehand. Lisa didn't speak the entire ride home. Not one word. She just sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window. I drove. Calm. Steady. Like we were just coming back from any other boring corporate event. We pulled into the driveway. She got out, went inside, went straight to the bathroom. I waited, then followed her. She was standing in front of the sink, gripping it so hard her knuckles were white. I walked in, leaned against the doorframe, and said, "You still think I'm just a boring tech guy who never pays attention?" She didn't answer, just kept staring at the faucet. I left her there and went to bed, because I wasn't done yet. The gala was just the first domino. Tomorrow, HR was going to start asking questions. And when they did, I'd make sure they had all the answers they needed. By the time we woke up the next morning, it had already started. Lisa's phone was lighting up nonstop. Calls, texts, Slack messages from coworkers. She kept walking into different rooms to take them in private. Every time she came back, she looked more and more pale. I just sat at the kitchen table sipping my coffee like it was any other Monday. She didn't say a word to me. Not "good morning." Not "did you see that presentation?" Nothing. But her energy said everything. She was scrambling, trying to figure out how much people knew, trying to control the story before it was too late. Spoiler, it was already too late. I got the first real update around noon, from Karen. Yup, same Karen from before. She texted me, "Your anonymous tip is the talk of the building." VP of Compliance just pulled Mark into a closed-door meeting. HR's in panic mode. A few minutes later, they're going through emails. Like, seriously going through them. See, that's the part Lisa and Mark didn't think about. They thought they were slick, using personal phones and keeping it private. But when you're on a company's payroll, using their calendar, booking retreats through work accounts, and clocking hours you didn't work, that's not private. That's evidence. That afternoon, Lisa came out of her office, eyes red, face tight, and said, "They're opening an investigation. I've been asked to work from home until it's sorted out." I just nodded. "Oh, that sucks." She looked at me for a second, like she was about to say something, then stopped. She knew. There was no saving this. No fake retreat, no flirty texts disguised as jokes, no HR lingo to spin the facts. She didn't ask me if I'd done it, didn't accuse me, didn't defend herself. She just sat on the couch in silence for the rest of the day. And while she was sitting there, processing the crumbling of everything she'd been trying to keep secret, I was meeting my lawyer. We finalized the paperwork that week. Clean split. Divorce filing already drafted. Evidence included, just in case she tried to go after anything extra. But because she violated company policy and was likely about to lose her job, she wasn't in much of a position to fight. We served her on a Thursday. She didn't cry, didn't scream, just stared at the envelope and whispered, "Are you really doing this?" I looked her dead in the eye and said, "You already did." By Friday, Mark had been placed on leave pending investigation. By Monday, he was gone. No email farewell. No office party. Just gone. Karen later told me Mark's wife had filed for divorce too. Cleaned out the house. Took the kids. Word around the office was she'd found even more messages than what I'd shown. Apparently, Mark wasn't just cheating with Lisa. He'd been fishing in multiple ponds. Lisa was next. Her LinkedIn went dark. She quietly removed her HR director title and added, "open to work." I saw a few vague posts about growth through adversity and learning from pain, but I never responded. She moved out 2 weeks later. Took a suitcase and a few boxes. Left the rest behind, including the framed wedding photos we never bothered to take down. I deleted them that night. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. I was done. People always say revenge is a dish best served cold. But I don't think that's true. I think it's best served calm, when they don't see it coming, and they have no one to blame but themselves. The house was too quiet after she left. I don't mean that in a sad way. It was just quiet, peaceful, like the air finally had room to breathe. There were no more late-night work calls. No perfume that didn't belong. No fake smiles or tension you could cut with a butter knife. Just me, silence, and a suddenly much larger apartment. I boxed up her leftover stuff a week later, mostly old clothes, a couple shoes, one of her yoga mats. I didn't rush, didn't throw anything out. I wasn't looking for drama. I stacked the boxes neatly in the hallway, sent her a polite text. Let me know when you want to grab the rest. She never replied. Not long after, a mutual friend told me she'd moved in with her sister for a while. Apparently, she was taking time to reflect and figure herself out. Cool. Let her. I was too busy reclaiming my own damn life. The divorce moved quickly. Surprisingly so. She didn't contest anything. I think she was too embarrassed to fight. Or too drained. Or maybe she finally realized she'd burned through every ounce of goodwill she ever had. We split the assets down the middle, but I kept the apartment. I kept my car. I kept the life I'd built before she started trying to sneak around behind my back. Her job was gone. Mark's job? Gone. His marriage? Also gone. From what I heard, Lisa's company did a full internal audit after the gala. Mark had a whole history of blurring lines with subordinates. Lisa wasn't the first, just the most obvious. They scrubbed his name from the company website like he never existed. I saw a post from Mark's ex-wife a couple months later. She was on a beach vacation with her kids. Smiling. Looked lighter. Happier. That made me weirdly happy too. As for Lisa, she tried to rebrand herself on social media for a while. HR consultant. Passionate about workplace culture. Stuff like that. But no one was really buying it. People talk. The professional world is smaller than you think, especially in HR. At some point, I stopped checking. Stopped wondering. She became background noise. And me? I got my peace back. Took some time off. Focused on work. Started going to the gym again, not to glow up or get revenge, just because I wanted to feel human again. I even started cooking for myself, like actually cooking, not just takeout and microwave meals. Turns out I'm not bad at it. A few months later, I got an offer to speak at a small startup's HR seminar. Yummy. Turns out someone from the gala had remembered my little anonymous case study and wanted me to talk about integrity, trust, and protecting yourself in toxic professional relationships. I laughed when I got the email, but I went. The talk was good. The audience asked smart questions. And after the event, someone handed me their card and said, "That was brutally honest. We need more people like you in leadership." Guess I didn't just blow up a lie. I built something new from the ashes. I'll leave you with this. If you ever feel like you're being lied to, trust your gut. If you're being disrespected, don't beg for respect. And if someone thinks you're too boring, too soft, too easy to fool, let them believe it. Let them walk right into the trap you built while they were laughing. And when it all comes crashing down, smile, turn the page, and start writing the next chapter without them.